In this module, we will talk about or we will continue to see the criticism on the best practice approach. As we have already discussed the implementation level, we will go further on the second and third level, that is, theory and methods and broader societal considerations. Let's see what is the criticism on the best practice approach based on theory and methods. When we say methods, that means that how the data was collected, about the impact of best practices, or what was the method to conduct research on this topic. Anyway, the first thing is the universal approach has been criticized for being atheoretical. When we say atheoretical, actually we mean that absence of theory in research. So the question is, where is or what theory explains the impact of best practices on organizational performance or employees' productivity? For example, one of the best practices is job security. Where is the theory that explains that when employees are having a job security, that will enhance organizational productivity or employee productivity? Where is the theory, or which theory explain the relationship between job security and organizational performance? So the question is how? How job security or other best practices, for example, paying employees above average wage, will enhance organizational performance. The question is how? So that means that if we don't know this how question, we know little about what theory explains or what theory could be used to explain this relationship between the two variables. So no account is taken for context. As I said before, it is criticized that you are talking about best practice and results. What about the context of the organization? An organization may be working in a different context, and one organization is definitely working with a different context than others. So, what is the considerations for the context? Similarly, no considerations to corporate strategy. As I said, that strategic human resource management is more about aligning the HR practices with the business strategy. Every organizations may have a different strategy. Every organizations do not have a strategy. In other words, all organizations they do not have a strategy. Or some organizations they may have a strategy. Now the question is, if some organizations they don't have a strategy, or it is unknown how these best practices will enhance that organizational performance. Furthermore, the best practices should be considered in the context of organizational strategy. Fourth criticism is in theory and methods is methodology. As I said that most of the previous research on the strategic human resource management has been quantitative, and in quantitative research, numbers are interpreted. So data were collected in numbers and cross-sectional. Most of the studies were cross-sectional, means the data was collected just one time. And the data was collected through surveys, and the quantitative data analysis techniques, which is based on the factor analysis, were used to analyze the impact of best practices on organizational performance. People criticize that the results may not be valid. The second level of criticism is broader societal considerations. I will make it short for you guys to understand that best practices for whom? You are saying that these best practices are best practices, but the question is for whom? Are these practices are best for employees or employers? This debate has resulted in the second point which is mentioned here is the mutual gains perspective. Do these best practices enhance the well being, the performance of both parties, employee and employer, or they only benefit the employee, or they only benefit the employer? Do these best practices results in a mutual gains perspective or mutual gains that both parties have a win-win situation? So potential for work intensification, some people have argued that the best practices have the potential for work intensification. What we mean by work intensification? Work intensification, in a simple words, is when employees don't have time to do anything else during the job other than the job. For example, they don't have a sufficient time, even they cannot listen a phone call when it is really important, or they cannot make a phone call when it is really important. Another form of work intensification is when employees are working at a very fast pace. So that labor work or a very fast paced work will definitely drain employees' energies. So people argue that these best practices may result in work intensification and insidious forms of control. Others argue that these best practices may result in insidious form of control, an invisible hand that is controlling employees day and night, or at least employees' work life. Because you are not having a policy, but these best practices, for example, employees should gain rewards when they have performed very well. So it is an insidious form of control. Employees keep on working hard to gain the rewards. If they don't, they will not gain the rewards. And the last thing is the notion of best practice approach to HRM is culturally specific. People argue that nothing is out of the culture. In the culture, for example, in Pakistan, in the Western world, in the United States, everywhere the culture is different. Do these best practices are universal or they are culture bound? These are the questions need to be think about what these best practices are for. Thank you.